All right, welcome back. Today we're talking about the partial hospitalization level of care, PHP. Ben, what is PHP and what is the role of PHP in the overall continuum of care?
So PHP is, like you just said, it's partial hospitalization. It means that a person has left inpatient or hospital stabilization, and they're higher functioning, and they can, they can do basically activities of daily living, take care of themselves, but yet they still need structure. They still need support. They still need guidance. So partial hospitalization introduces how to deal with addiction, how to deal with substance use, how to deal with mental illnesses, self-esteem, self-worth, depression, anxiety. About 80% of it is in a group setting, and then individual settings and individual therapy and all of that.
Sure, right. So there's a combination of group therapy, individual
Sure.
therapy, different modalities, different activities, that are therapeutic. We always talk about, like, at least us in particular, there's not much of a difference between a residential level of care
Right.
and PHP. I mean, in reality, you are doing treatment all day. I mean, really the only difference is that the housing is separate, which I actually preferred back in my day because
Sure.
I kind of like that you could live in a more homey environment as opposed to feeling like you're kind of trapped inside four walls. So what is it that you like, clinically speaking, about PHP versus like a higher level of care?
Right. So the other difference is and this is really the big difference, is the nursing component. Because PHP was born out of Medicare and it was born out of a medical model. So, the difference between residential and PHP is residential is basically 24-hour nursing care, and PHP is not. You have nursing care, but it's limited. I like it because the housing is separate, and they do have their own space, just like you said. I also like it because we can be very creative with the patient population. Some patients can earn privileges and go on passes. They could have different benefits. Maybe some people come in and they need to work a little bit while they're in PHP. We can involve the family more during the PHP process. They also are responsible for their medications, and we help them with that. And the medication education is nothing to be it's nothing to trivialize. It's a huge component to them getting better. So I like all of that. I like the group process where we can do all kinds of creative groups, anything from the self-esteem to self-worth to reducing depression and anxiety. And then also we can do a ton of activities. Typically in residential programs, they don't go anywhere.
Yep.
It's South Florida, and we like to go to the beach in the Everglades and go for ice cream, and they like the Chinese buffet and all of that stuff. So all of that, you put that all together, and those are the big reasons.
It's ironic because I think that we can treat folks at PHP that are more traditionally, based on their acuity, based on their needs, needing a higher level of care, yet we can do it at the PHP level of care, which is actually the best of both worlds. They get the clinical care that they need, but we always say that you don't go to treatment just to kind of white knuckle it and sit in four walls and then like off you go. This is supposed to be a bridge back to life. And so you got to take the training wheels off over time, if you will.
Right.
And there should be an off-ramp. It's just that off-ramp can't be sudden. It needs to be gradual, hence the continuum of care.
Let me just share this with you. I don't think we collectively in behavioral health, and this includes treatment centers, insurance companies, and licensing boards, I don't think people fully grasp what PHP is. I'll give you an example. There are very popular insurance companies out there that believe that a patient in PHP, our level of care, can have all their medications at their disposal, at their nightstand, can come and go as they please, use their vehicles, go to the 7-Eleven, come back, and basically they should be allowed to stay in PHP under those conditions. And we know from history that that's typically not the case. And so it's hard sometimes to define it when insurance companies are saying things like that. It's very loose in its interpretation, which is another reason, by the way, why I like it, because we can do a lot of creative things.
Sure. And there's obviously a place for that eventually, IOP.
100%.
But, we try to find, and I think our PHP in particular, does the best job of this, is finding the right balance between additional freedoms and or lack of restrictions that enable somebody to start feeling like they're part of life and to make the transition back to the real world a little bit smoother, with providing the necessary guardrails to be clinically constructive. And I think you do a really good job of being nimble. I think PHP is really the perfect level of care that is compatible with your clinical ability to be dynamic. So I'm actually really happy that we went PHP first. I would, maybe this is the ego in me, but I would stack our PHP up against any other PHP out there for primary mental health, largely because of, your ability to utilize the circumstances of PHP and apply your clinical know-how to that model. So, thank you.
Thank you.